All right, I'm going to introduce. I don't have time to get into it very deep, so maybe this is a good day since we have a lot of visitors today. Maybe a good day to start and maybe cut it. Well, I will cut it short for sure, but because we're going to receive communion at the end of, by the way, which all of you can participate in. I'm going to begin a new series, and I've titled the whole series, "The Church Jesus is Building." The church Jesus is building, and the lesson or the mini lesson that we're going to give today is, Jesus, how can I help? The church Jesus is building today, Jesus, how can I help you? Two verses, Matthew 16:18 and Psalm 127 verse 1, both pretty familiar. Matthew 16:18, Jesus said, "I will build my church." I, Jesus, will build my church. So this church is a local church. What Jesus is talking about is not a local church, but the church universal, the church around the world. He is building His church. And then Psalm 127 verse 1, except the Lord build the house, except the Lord build it, they labor in vain who build. I know a lot of pastors, sweet, loving, giving, caring, committed people that work themselves into an early grave trying to build a church. I can't do it. Except the Lord build the house. But let me illustrate it like this. If you've ever gone to someone's home, a beautiful home, maybe you haven't seen them in a long time, and they say, "Come by and visit," and you go by and you drive up and you're like, "Wow, what a beautiful home." And you go in, you take the tour, you see the house, and you ask the question, "Did you buy this or did you build it?" And they say, "Oh, we built it." What do they mean by that? Do they mean they literally got the concrete, dug the foundation, put up the house, put up the shingles, put in the plumbing? Is that what they mean by that? No. It means they oversaw the whole thing, but they were responsible for financing, paying for it, making sure it's all done. They built it. They don't literally mean their hands built it. So when Jesus says, "I will build my church," what we mean by that is He's overseeing this whole thing. He's got everything under control. And the local church is His way. It's His idea, with all of its imperfections, with all of its quirkiness perhaps, with all of its abuse, all the negative things that come with church. He's still building it. He's still got it covered. If a person builds a house, a literal house, you've got your concrete people, you've got your electricians, your plumbers, the framers, you've got the roofers, the finishers, the drywallers, the painters. You've got all these people assigned to different areas of building that house. If one group begins to slack, it's going to throw everybody else off. If the plumbers haven't put in the fixtures for all the water to come in, then it's going to hinder the concrete people. Everybody has an assignment in building a natural house. But Jesus is building His church. But folks, good news or bad news, depends on where you are. He's going to use us to do it. He's going to use you. You have an assignment. I have an assignment. And when one person slacks, then somebody else has to take it up. Makes it difficult. The word build in the Greek means to construct. It's like an architect, and it's used 57 times in the New Testament. An antonym for build would be destroy. The antonym for build would be to destroy. Who does that remind us of? John 10:10. The thief comes. Who's the thief? Satan. The thief comes to steal, kill, destroy. That's what he's about, folks. There's no perfect church. There's no perfect pastor. There's no perfect denomination. There's no perfect institution. There's no perfect place. And that's the way God set it up. And He's building His church through us imperfect ones. God builds, Satan destroys. A really simple question that anyone can answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Which is easier, to build a house or tear it down? Now, I'm not a builder. I like to do stuff with my hands. I like to build small stuff, but I couldn't build a house, not from start to finish. But you know what? I guarantee you this. I've never done it, but I guarantee you I could tear one down. I could. I know I could. You get a house. I'll take it from the roof down, and I can tear it down. But I can't build one. When you think about that in terms of church, it's real easy to tear things down. But we're not called to tear things down. We're called to help Him build the church. And here's the interesting thing. On the opposite ends of the poles, God and Satan. God builds, Satan destroys, but both of them use people. Both of them use people, and both of them use church people. Thank you for your enthusiasm. Some of the meanest, ugliest people I've ever met in my whole life were not in bars, we're not in the clubs, we're not in the disco. I've never been to any of those, but we're in church about 3 or 4 times a week. I'm talking mean, ugly, vicious people sit in church 4 times a week. God uses people to build, church people to build. Satan uses church people to destroy. I wonder if we could prove that scripturally. Or is that just Pastor Bob's opinion? You know, if you go to church here, you know me, opinions are pretty useless. We've all got one. You know, we've all got an opinion. Opinions never built the kingdom. It's what this book says that matters. Let's take it a step further. God uses His church, Christians to build. Satan uses God's church, Christians to destroy. Is that too strong, you think? Am I being too black and white? Remember our subject. Jesus, how can I help? How can I help? The same Greek word for build in the New Testament is translated in 1 Thessalonians 5:11. Paul says, encourage each other and edify one another. Edify, same Greek word as build. Exact same Greek word. Encourage each other and edify, build one another. 2 Corinthians 10:8. This is Paul speaking of his own personal ministry gift. He said, which the Lord gave me for edification and not for destruction. Have you ever gone to church and just felt whipped? Think, Lord, I could have stayed home and watched championship wrestling and felt better than this. You know? I've been to those churches where dear God, why don't you just kill me and take me to heaven? I'm not worth anything anyway. No, the ministry, this place, this pulpit is not to pull people into the pit. Little play on words there. It's to edify, to build up people, not for destruction. 2 Corinthians 12:19, Paul said, do all things, beloved, for edification, for the building up of people. And it's interesting there that those last two verses in 2 Corinthians 10, 2 Corinthians 12, both of those written to the most out of order church in the New Testament, the church at Corinth. The church at Corinth have all kind of zeal and all kinds of excitement, but man, they were messed up. Remember, Paul said, I'd like to tell you guys some things, but you can't even hear it. You're not even ready to understand it. There's divisions, there's fightings. You guys are having communion and getting drunk. You know what it says that? They didn't use Welch's grape juice in the Bible. I just hate to tell you that. And they'd come and just get hammered at communion. Paul said, listen to me. You guys need to grow up. But to that church, he said, those two verses, edify each other. Build one another up. Don't destroy, build up. Ephesians 4:29, let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good for the edification or the building up, that it may impart grace to the hearers. So God uses us, His church, to build and to edify each other, to edify others. And Satan uses the same thing, words. Words. You look around this room, see, we're not from here originally, so some of you guys know each other way better than we know you. Some of you go all the way back to grade school. Someone said, man, talking about his friend, said, man, we knew each other when we were a twinkle in our daddy's eye. Think about that. So, some of you go way, way back. And with that knowledge, you know all the history, all the stuff. But you know what? We all have it. We all have it. We all have stuff. We all have bumps in the road. We all have choices that we wish we could go back and undo, redo, or get rid of. Everybody does. My point is this. We're all in the same boat. We're all in the same category. And it's the only reason we are here or that we are anything. It is by the goodness and the grace of God that said, I will give the gift of my Son to save the world. Other than that, we have nothing. Other than that, we have nothing to give. I give, God says, my son. And when we receive Him, our lives are forever changed. Our past doesn't go away. You still know. You still remember. But folks, that old saying, but for the grace of God, go I. With that knowledge, knowing we're all in the same boat, we can build each other up. Because if we have one perfect one here, then you have the right to critique all of our lives. But whoever stands up in perfection, we're going to call you a liar. Because we don't believe it. The church universal, is famous for this. Accepting anyone with any sin, with any background, with no matter how heinous, if they'll just commit to Jesus, we'll accept you. And the church is famous for that. But right on the heels of that, they expect every person to completely conform and transform quickly. And if you ever fall back into an old sin or an old failure, then we are certainly free to talk about you. We are free to condemn you. And most importantly, we are free to tell everybody we know what you did. The church is famous for that. But that's not edifying, that's not building up, and that's not helping Jesus build the church. If we're going to be a part of what Jesus is doing, and that is building His church, then what I just said is unacceptable. And it has to change. Everybody's got a past. Everybody's got a history. Everybody's got, and because we're in church, I'll say stuff. But you know what I'm talking about. Everybody's got it. So folks, if Jesus said, I will build my church and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. The gates, Hades, the gates of hell will not prevail against my church. Then He's going to have a strong church. He's going to have a church that's marching in step. He's going to have a church that's at His beck and call and doing what He says, getting His job done. Now, are you going to be a part of that? Are you going to be on the sidelines tearing down, tearing down, tearing down, tearing down, tearing down, tearing down? I want to tell you, I'm going to be brutally honest. If you're doing that, if you're tearing down, you're doing exactly what Satan wants you to do. Because he's about destroying. John 10:10. I'm not going to be a part of that. We told our class earlier, Tammy and I could write a tell-all book of Ashley County. It would be a big seller in Ashley County. The Ashley County Tabloid by Pastor Bob. Because we know so many things about people. But we never, ever talk about it. We never tell anybody. We've never told anybody. Why? It doesn't edify. It tears down. It tears down. It destroys. I'm going to cut it short and I'm going to stop with this. Mark it down. This doesn't happen very often. I seldom ever preach this short. If Jesus is building His church, and we know He is because He said He is, and we're a part of helping Him, then how can I help? How can you help? Let me give you one thing, just one thing. It's real simple. You know it. But if you want to be a part of positive change, if you want to be a part of edification rather than destruction, the one thing that every single person, whatever background, whatever denomination, whatever your beliefs are, every person can do this. When you hear of someone who's fallen, or someone who's got a sordid past, or someone who's made some bad choices, or someone who's done some things that are brought shame to the kingdom, whatever it is, if you want to help Jesus, then take that person, take them before the Lord, and pray for them. Pray for them. Don't talk about them. Don't get on Facebook and tell everybody what a punk they are. Don't get on the phone and say, well, I'm here to tell you a prayer request. No, you're just there to tell the gossip. Pray for them. Because it's His church. He's building it. He can do it. He can change. He can make the difference. There's something about human nature, even Christians. There's something about us. We like a big, juicy chunk of gossip. Well, I don't know what that is, but people like that. They like to be in the know. What they don't know, they make up. That's not how we build the church. That's not how we help Jesus. We help Him by edifying people, building people up. Not talking about it to anybody but Him. You can do that. You can do it if you decide to do it. So, here it is, and I'm going to close. You can choose to be on God's team, Jesus' team, and help build, or you can choose to be with Satan because he's about destroying. The choice is easy. It's simple. Be a builder with him. Let's bow our heads.